Sarang, thank you for taking out time. Your domain, which is around research assistant, building research assistant, or the whole research element around and about AI, is a little contradictory to the whole evolution of AI, right? Because earlier there was manual research, then there was system-driven, system-based research, and now there is system-only research, right? People have completely relied, or rather offloaded, their research hard work. What you do, how is it different? What change is it bringing in this whole ecosystem of research?
Yeah. So I think if you look at how things have evolved over the past couple of years, I think if I wanted to go and find flights for myself and do some kind of, let's say I want to plan my itinerary, for a particular travel, I think that it's very easy for me to now do it. I had to kind of otherwise rely on multiple different pages. So uh, I have to actually do some Google search, click on 10 different links,
Correct.
and then look at pages myself,
Correct.
and really figure out what is that I want. So basically, what I'm trying to do here is there's a lot of noise out there, and I'm trying to find signal inside it by doing search.
Correct.
And what these tools are helping you now do is, for example, now you can actually just ask them to pull the signal. So you ask them what is it I want, and it can actually filter out noise for you and then give you signal, right? And that's quite nice. That's something I quite like about it. Right? And also, this is not just for example, internet search. You can actually extend this concept to for example, your org, right? Organizations currently are also having a lot of data. That data also has a lot of noise.
Correct.
So how do you get the right information that you want at the right time? I think that's a good problem to solve. Right? So I think I really like uh, what we are getting out of this thing called research assistant.
Right. So research has also gone through a lot of evolution in itself as a mechanism since ages, right? If you add every evolution that research had, we would have lot many re's before the search in today's time, right? And now with AI coming in, and it's moving towards AGI, where everything is automated. Where does the responsibility level lie, Sarang? And I'm coming from a point that if I've done research on something, I would publish a journal about it, or I'd write a research paper, or I'll submit my thesis. I would own up that research.
Right.
Right? But now, in the name of research, I just do couple of prompts or searches and whatever, come up with the data, still label it as my own, and submit it wherever I have to submit. But when something goes wrong, I don't want to be held responsible for it, right?
Right.
Where do you think that foundation of responsibility coming in?
I think that's an excellent question. So with research assistants or like with these tools, what happens is you ask a question, you get an answer, and it's up to you whether to trust that answer or not.
Correct.
Highly likely that answer might have some sort of hallucination, right?
Correct.
At least today. Of course, today's LLMs are like that. And if it lies to you with so much confidence, maybe you would just go ahead and publish that thing. That would kind of harm in future.
Correct.
So for example, in healthcare, you have some sort of litigations. Correct. For example, you are building a drug and you kind of built that drug based on like some answer you got from such chatbot. And that causes some dramatic results. That's wrong, right? That is like very, very harmful. So how do you make sure that this doesn't happen? So two things, like obviously, like it has to, there are the two problems we need to solve here. Like, one is the system problem that we're talking about, right? Like first of all, the system is doing something wrong. And this other problem is the people problem. Like people who are using the system are not using it the way they should, right? So how do we make sure that like both the things are actually balanced out well? And like, for example, when we are building such thing for our users, we actually need to focus on both. So because so we need to look at like, is my system doing the right thing or not? I need to have first checks in there so that even before it spits out the answer, I need to have like checks where, okay, is that answer, is there any hallucination?
Correct. Yeah.
Is there something wrong? Is there something missing? Right? All of those checks should kind of go in before, let's say, such answers are being given to the user. But at the same time, as a user, I need to also trust that answer, right? And I need to have proper training and understanding that how to use this particular system. And there's also going to be some sort of you will still have some margin for error. There's going to be, you need to have some sort of error budget for that. But you still need to have like right training in place, right things. So I think right system controls, right trainings. Specifically when you're talking about compliance critical or critical, mission critical things that people are working on, I think I need to have both, balance both.
But do you think that happening?
So if you are, for example, doing a research which is very generic, and let's say if you publish a paper on that, it is possible that I could just go ahead and publish today. It's just totally possible, right? I mean, people are doing that, and it sounds like if you start reading it, it appears like this is
Very shallow.
Yeah, but I mean, I totally agree. Like, currently, there is going to be these papers out there which will have like maybe missing facts, maybe incorrect facts. Like, I think currently there is any solution to that, like, because that's like a human behavior on like getting things out faster if you want, right? But then you will need to have such like some reputed papers or some publishers needs to have like those checks in place where now you need to really check whether these things are fact, right? And then the reviewer needs to be like,
Of course.
in place.
Correct. There's a catch-22 situation that I want to talk about, Sarang. So you build a system which has deep knowledge, like it's trained, the model is trained on tons of data. Yeah. But the user has shallow knowledge. Absolutely, very, very minimal. Right? Sure. Compared to system also, but in general, so that's why they are researching about something, right? So their question to this deep source will also be shallow. Yeah. They will not be able to ask a deeper question, right, to the system because they don't have that knowledge. Which means the system again will give a shallow answer. This loop never ends. How does one, especially in the research domain, and there's another follow-on question to it, I'll come to that later, but how does one build this depth? Like, say I have zero knowledge. My question will be shallow. But I'm expecting the system will give me deep answers. But the system is programmed in such a way that it will only reply to the sort of question that is being asked, which means the answer also is from the surface itself. But I am here happy and dancing, oh, I got an answer. And I label it as research, which is basically just a question answer session, right? How do you think that one builds depth in this whole conversation?
I don't think you can. I mean, if you are asking it's like what you ask is what you get, right?
Exactly.
Like, and if you're not asking like the right questions, you won't get. I mean, I could say that if you're not phrasing a particular question in a nice way, currently the reality of days is like you need to actually write the nicer better prompt and all of that. I think you're asking the question just for the sake of asking it and then whatever you get back. I think that is something you can control, users can control. But I think here is everything kind of lies down with the user, right? Because if user is not asking the right questions or the questions that user themselves understand. But there is one thing I can there's a paper that's called CoStorm. It's from Stanford. CoStorm, yeah, it's CORM, Storm. And then that's like the earlier paper and the other version is CoStorm. Okay. And if I remember it correctly, because it's been a while since I also read it, but what it does is basically it kind of helps you uncover unknowns.
Uncover?
Unknowns.
Oh, okay.
So there is something like, for example, there are known unknowns and known knowns. You know what you know.
Yeah.
And there are something you know that you don't know.
Yet you don't know. Correct.
And when you're talking about shallow questions, in such case, most likely you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Unknown, right?
Correct.
And what you could do is you could actually ask such question to this bot. And what they will do is they'll start kind of understand the intent of the question, maybe ask like a follow-up question for the user to clarify the intent. But then they will create some experts in the field of that question. And those experts are like expert agents. And what they'll do is they'll start talking to each other. And now as a user, I need to observe what they're doing. So now for me, it's more like I look at what they're doing. And what they will do is basically they'll talk about different things and start having a conversation. And when you have such conversation, it sort of gives you giving you different perspective around things. It's more like you are something who wants to learn something, right? And then that's why you're asking shallow questions, right? Because you don't, of course, you want to research about it. So what you would do is it's more like you're sitting there and you are looking at experts who are talking to each other and then trying to understand. And you could kind of, let's say it's going above your head, maybe you could just interrupt them, ask them follow-up questions. Okay, what is this? And then they'll kind of deviate, come to your level. So it's more of a proactive approach where you ask a question and then you have a system that will kind of start uncovering those unknowns for you.
Right. So, and this is the question that I had in my mind, right? That I was comparing this research assistant technology with an aircraft. So when an aircraft or when someone goes to learn an aircraft, they are programmed that I'm going to learn something which is very technical. My basics have to be right, which I've learned in my academia. But for this, I need to have a generic training and then a specialized training and then X number of hours of exposure on the system itself for me to be able to call myself an experienced pilot. Right? Unfortunately, that does not happen in technology. It is made it so simple that you can ask just a question and it will give you a very simple answer. And but adding on to what you said, do you see that we can place systems on top of systems, basically auditing the auditor?
Yeah.
Right. So do you see that kind of co-authoring or coexistence happening?
I think to some extent that's a need of the hour. For example, if I understand your question correctly, what you're asking is you have information produced by system and you have an auditor that is a system.
Exactly.
And that's a need of an hour. Because and if you're talking about evals, right? Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Evals is basically like how do you evaluate whatever answers are being generated by
Correct.
by user questions,
Correct.
and what's actually happening behind the scene in the system. And human cannot do it. Let's say if I'm working on I'm building a chatbot, I have it in production, and I have, let's say, hundreds of people using my chatbot. It is not humanly possible for me to actually
Analyze all of
read all the answers if they are correct or not. I need to have a system in place who will do that for me. I need a system which will kind of tell me and alert me whenever there is hallucination, right? Whenever it is going off track. I need a system which will tell me that this guy is just this system has just started lying. I need a system to tell me that the answers are incorrect, incomplete, right? I need to understand also system basically if user is asking questions which are toxic, or if the answers are generated by language model are toxic, right? I need to know like if there is if some user is trying to kind of you're giving a prompt, you're giving just a text box.
Correct.
User can add whatever they want, and it's me who need to kind of put those right guardrails in to really understand if there's any prompt injection happening or whatever. So it's basically like how user is using system, how system is behaving to the user. I need to have understanding of both the things, and I can't do it as a human.
It's humanly not possible.
I need to have a system, and that's the need of an art, I would say. So I see that happening. I see that working, but it is, I would say that, is that 100% working, and is it like at a level where we could 100% trust it? Maybe not, but yes, it is better. It is valuable. It's not perfect, but it is valuable.
Right. Right. So with technology coming in and affecting research right at the foundation of the domain and growing at a massive scale as we speak, that whole essence of someone putting in tons of hours of work, going through boring stuff, and then finding patterns to design and define their answers, then telling the whole wide world that this is the crux. Technology has taken all of that away, right? Which means that, of course, you will do some fine tuning, you will do some filtering, some hygiene check, but it's not necessarily that you will remember everything that the system has generated because you have not done the dirty work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does a research assistant do in this scenario? How is it different from a regular, say, chatbot or a regular search chat?
I think the way I look at it, right? So I mean, the way I envision personally, I think maybe there'll be different versions out there. My personal opinion is that you need to build a system. It's like you're building a vehicle. Human should be at the forefront of it. Human should be the one driving that system. So there is axis. There's like one axis. On the one hand, let's say you have a system which is completely autonomous. Like you give it a task, it'll do it for you, right? No questions asked. There is a system which is you have full control. Like you are doing, like defining every step of it, and then it's like writing script in our code. I mean, in a developer world, you need to find that right balance on, like, and you need to have the right control of the right automation and the right control, right? So and while doing that, you need to make sure that the system is autonomous enough that human is able to navigate it. Right? So let's say there are agents in place where, for example, it might, if you ask a question, like if you give it a task, it will take some time, maybe minutes, maybe hours to do that task for you. So when this is happening, if human is in the front seat, observing all of that and navigating things, I think that will be wonderful. UX and AI, I think, are literally meeting for the first time.
Correct.
In this entire, like,
the whole century.
entire century, right? And they will have like a pretty good love affair maybe in 2025, because UX and AI are coming together, and then now we need to really think about how do we make this possible? How do we put that human in front? How do we make sure that they are actually able to navigate some complex world problems? Currently, we talk about human in loop.
Yeah.
Wherever, let's say, if chatbot or research assistant thinks that, oh, there is something I need more clarification on, I need to clarify the intent, I would ask quickly the question to human, and human can answer.
Sure.
But there are still a lot of automation that tools out. Maybe I think we need to find that, understand really, like, how do we put that human in the center, and that's the UX. That's the thing we need to really figure out how it unfolds. I'm very interested in that.
Okay. So touching upon the UX element, right, which is, so we started from HCI, human computer interface. It all, the journey back in the day started from there.
Yeah.
Then we came to human design, right? Human centered design. And now in AGI, we are not putting the humans in front, but we are saying AGI, artificial general intelligence, right? What role do you think does that whole human element has to play to again take control of the technology and not get driven by it?
Yeah, I think, first of all, AGI is still a word that is thrown around quite a lot. Maybe we'll have AGI next year, maybe in a couple of years. Like, we don't know. Basically,
Correct.
I think we don't know if it's a hype, if it is something that they see, because they are like, it's a closed model.
Correct.
And closed community that is actually working on this, and then seeing that how that is. And when what we are seeing is quite late in the game.
Correct.
Right? Correct. So, to be honest, I do not know of how AGI will drive things, because I don't think if anyone says that they know, I think that's going to be a lie. We don't know the impact directly, and we can just imagine what impacts could be.
Yeah. Correct.
At factual state, I don't think we can say what it is. I believe that the systems that we are still developing needs to be driven by human. And I mean, there are things, for example, that AI. So, for example, you have your AI, I have my AI. You have, correct, both of us have our own personal assistant, right? And there are things like it. For example, if I want to have a call with you, I can maybe, my assistant will kind of maybe message your assistant, and then they maybe that's fancy. I think might work in some cases. Yeah, because there are also a lot of routine tasks that we do, right, at the end of the day. So I think when we are looking at, let's say if I'm working for 8 hours a day, out of those 8 hours, I'm doing a lot of tasks which maybe someone could do, some assistant could do, maybe not research, but maybe personal assistant could do.
Correct.
Right. And same for you. And maybe have some sort of a communication between them. So I do see that I think everything will change over a period of time in the way we are doing it. I'm not sure if it's like when we reach the age how it will be, but at least I see that, for example, the way I work today versus the way I used to work maybe 2 years ago has completely changed. So I write, for example, code. I a lot of times rely on Copilot now because I feel it's very easy for me to kind of just rely on it and then get things faster, right? It just makes me more productive. It'll change the way currently what we're looking at, and my hope is that it does things that I don't want to do and then helps me focus on what I want to do. Yeah. So I think there is one quote, right, saying someone that I wanted AI to actually do the dishes and laundry.
Correct.
So that I can focus on creative work. I can do what I want.
Correct.
And not that the AI does what I want to do and then I do the laundry and dishes.
Correct.
That's it we don't want.
Correct. So which leads or rather results in hyper productivity, right? So AI also, let's talk about productivity in the sense that what is the peak level of productivity that you see coming in the near future with this fast moving technology? Where do you think that what will humans do when they have suddenly so much of time in their hands, right? Someone is doing their carpet, someone is doing their laundry, they're just sitting. In older times when people had a lot of time at their hands, they would get into art or research, but now both of them also are taken by the technology.
Yeah, I don't think it will be taken by technology. I think that you will get better, you'll get faster at what you're doing, but it's like you have levels of problems, right?
Yes.
So if, let's say, if some technology is actually solving a lower level problem, you can focus on the higher level problem. I hope that is still true with this AI, and that's my hope. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm right. That we get to focus on the higher level problems and then let AI do the lower level problems for us. So I think that will help us get more productive. I'm not sure if it is going to be peak of productivity. I think hard to define, but it'll get better. I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah. Okay. So Sarang, one last question before I thank you for your time. How, or rather, what should the younger generation who's either in the academia right now or about or have already entered in the past couple of years, past 2 years in the corporate world, right? What should they be doing? What's important for them to build a sustainable career?
Yeah.
Say in your domain, right? Research assistant domain.
Yeah. So I think I'm a firm believer of 10,000 hour rule.
Practice, yes.
You know about that?
Yeah, of course.
It's basically like you need to kind of really understand things, study things, and spend time on what you're doing to actually get better at it.
Correct.
Right? So you can't just say that I'm able to do this very fast because I'm extremely talented. I think it's because you have done it enough times that you are getting better at it. What I see this younger generation doing is they are having tools at their disposal that could actually help them not do it. And that is a real danger for me. So let's say if now I ask someone to write a code, they could easily get that snippet from
Correct.
internet,
Yeah.
or maybe it's not from the internet, but from the ChatGPT, for example, or Claude.
Correct.
These models are great at it. The point is that at the end of the day, if you are a developer, you need to have a good understanding, solid foundations of what you're doing. You need to spend time at it. And I think that is missing. I think that's where we need to focus on. So look at these models are actually going to help you learn things better specifically for younger generations. So use them more to learn things and get yourself better at it, as against shortcut to actually getting things out.
Right. Great. Thanks, Aaron. This was a very short but very insightful, deep conversation. Thank you so much. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to host you again to probably go a little deeper into the whole research element, research aspect of it, talk a little about technicalities of the domain. But till then, thank you so much and look forward to be in touch.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.